Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Matt should be here soon. He's on his way back from out of town. I just got off the phone with him, and he should be pulling up at home any moment now. Got to hop out, get his laptop fired up and logged in, and everything of that sort. But he should be joining us here momentarily. Apologize for my voice. I've been, I don't know, sinus issues. It just feeling like crap the past day or so, but I figured I would hop on, at least get the show started for Matt. And if I need to drop off just to go suffer in silence, I'll do that. Or I may just kind of let him run with it and I'll run the background and pitch in every so often. But welcome everybody to the show. This is the Green Beret Life. I'm Lynn. Matt is not here yet. Um, we've got several shows here or shows. Jesus, I'm trying to do two things at one time. We've got several stories here that we're going to bring up that we've found that I think you guys will be interested in. One of them is the DOJ's made several statements about suppressors and some legal findings, and it's actually could work out to the benefit of the 2A community the way these statements have been made and how they can tie into the Heller decision. They've been looking at them being the ATF wants it both ways. They want to say, well, they're not a gun, so they're not regulated by the Second Amendment, but we're ATF, so it's a firearm, but it's not a gun. But they want to stretch the definitions to control as much as they can. But it looks like that's kind of starting to be picked away at a little bit. And we had a good thing happen whenever Trump rolled back the tax stamp to $0. It actually drove my first purchase of one. I did a Form 1 several years ago and built one and had to pay the tax, but I purchased one here recently, and actually it just came into the gun store this week, and my background check is underway, so I'm anxiously awaiting that call to go pick up my new toy. But we're going to talk about that, the suppressors. Um, the Trump admin is also freezing almost $1 billion to California and Minnesota in Medicaid payments because they can't account for a lot of their bookkeeping issues and basically can't account for where this money is going with all the fraud and abuse that is rampant in the systems in California and Minnesota. And of course, Waltz and Newsom are talking about how Trump doesn't care about children and old people when Gavin or Newsom and Waltz are the ones giving the money away to illegals and allowing it to be funneled away from the people that it's supposed to be there to support. Trump trying to put something in place, put guardrails in place to prevent that from happening, doesn't care about women and children, but Waltz and Newsom do by giving the money away to illegals who are scamming folks. It's liberal logic. I can explain it to you. I can't make it make sense. Another story we have here, um, New Jersey Governor Sherrill has released information where at least over 6,000 non-citizens were registered to vote due to a glitch in the DMV process. And out of those 6,600, at least 400 of them that we know of have voted illegally. And of course, a Democrat governor can't uncover voter fraud and give Trump any credit. It's still Trump's wrong about voter fraud, even though we've just uncovered voter fraud. It's pretty funny when we read the quote, but it's one of those circular arguments where, as a Republican or a conservative, I don't even really consider myself a Republican, more conservative, we want to advocate for investigations, for cleaning up voter rolls and everything else. And the Democrat talking point is, well, there's no evidence of voter fraud. It's like, well, okay, this looks fishy over here. Let's investigate that. Well, there's nothing to investigate. There's no evidence of anything. Well, pretty much like in any, crime, you investigate to uncover the evidence. Well, yeah, but there's no evidence, so we don't need to investigate. Again, I can explain it, but I can't make it make sense. It's their double speak. It's to appease their low information voter that is, well, yeah, why would we investigate? There's no evidence of it. What's the point of investigating? It's just the conservatives stirring things up again. One of the big stories we have here is this guy that ignited this fire outside of it. Looked like a pretty large fire outside of the federal building in Lower Manhattan Monday. Apparently he lit the fire and then started igniting fireworks and stuff. And again, fireworks can be anything from the string of the black cat fireworks and the little, 99-cent bottle rockets all the way up to those freaking mortars that shake the house and make the dogs and cats piss themselves. So I'm not sure what exactly he was setting off, but I doubt it was, small things. But we're going to take a look at this story and how the media's representing him. But we're going to take a little deeper look into their Army veteran claim for this guy. Not saying it's incorrect, but it's a little interesting because I was actually active duty during this time frame, and I know what I had going on, and we'll look at that. We'll look at that. And the last thing we're looking at, another good thing on the 2A front, and back to New Jersey, an appeals court has ruled that the New Jersey assault weapons ban, as it is implemented, is unconstitutional. And of course, you have the people that are for the ban saying, "Oh, the court got it all wrong," and the NRA and the Second Amendment folks are applauding the decision. But of course, the Democrats just moan and complain about how much gun violence there is. But what would be interesting, and I don't know if I'm sure it's tracked somewhere. I don't know how we would get access to it, but how many gun crimes are pled down to drop the gun charge? So you're arrested for robbery with a firearm, and it's pled down to where they drop the gun charge. Is they want the rules and the laws, but not for us, or they don't want to really affect their chosen group, just everybody else. So those are the stories that we have. Let me see. Matt still isn't on. I don't see him. Oh, speak of the devil, it's like he's popping in. We'll give him a moment to get online and meet and greet. Pull him in now. There he is.
Hello. Hey.
I can't hear you. Your volume's
Did
really
we
low.
already go through that? We had a little snap. What about now? Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you. I've got nothing.
Oh boy, there might be something with the connection. How about now? Testing.
Yeah.
Testing. Let me back out and get back in.
Oh, wait, hold on. Never mind. Hey, that's a me problem.
Okay.
My volume was turned down.
Okay.
No, you're
All
good.
right.
It was me. It was all on my end.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we got that sorted out.
I know.
Did we already went through? We had a snafu last week. We already talked about that.
Yeah, we did. That guys was all on me. I was off-site working. It was different time zone, tied up and stuff, and just completely lost track of everything. And Matt had tried getting a hold of me, and it was a whole thing. I had my computer with me, my mic, my camera, everything, and yeah, shit happens.
Sometimes shit happens, guys. You guys
Sometimes,
and with this show, shit happens quite often. It's expected
on the regular. On the regular.
You don't want
yes,
to
sir.
So, have we gone through what we're going to talk about tonight? I know I'm getting in almost 10 minutes late.
Yeah, I had just gone through kind of the stories that we had lined up, and was about to get into one whenever I saw you coming up on the bottom of the screen there. So yeah, we've got the appeals court saying the New Jersey assault weapons ban is unconstitutional. The guy starting the fire at the federal building.
Aravaca, the Army veteran. We'll get into
Yeah,
that later.
yeah. We're going to talk about the veteran status there. The illegal voters registered in New Jersey, the $1 billion that is not going, that is being withheld right now from Minnesota and California, and the statements the DOJ has been making about suppressors that could turn out to be beneficial to us 2A type folk.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. We're talking about I think it's Medicaid funds, the $1 billion being withheld from Minnesota.
Yeah. And, you want to talk about that one first? We can do that.
Well, I want to talk about it because there's something else that just came up today that I thought was quite telling. You have these states, these liberal states like California, Illinois, Massachusetts. Somebody had asked me, somebody made a comment to me today, and they said LAPD is the highest paid police department in the country. And I said, it can't be, because I know that I think they pay pretty well out there, but I also know San Francisco pays ridiculously well. Austin, Texas plays ridiculously well. Isn't it interesting? These are all liberal states. And then the list came out, and it said the states that have the highest pay for law enforcement were 2 states, and they're both bankrupt: California, or on the verge of bankruptcy, and Illinois, right? And it showed that some officer, I believe in California, well, there was a police chief who was the highest paid police chief in the country, who's in one of the northern California cities. Mm-hmm. I would, don't hold me to it, but I think Fresno, don't hold me to this, who makes damn near $500,000 a year as a police chief. Okay. And then there was the highest paid officer who was paid because, I think it's a female, through overtime, that made $547,000 last year. And these things get me thinking, and it's like, and I just want to make this comment because it's attached to this Medicaid funds being withheld, these states that are bankrupt, right? That don't have any money, that have all of these illegals and are using taxpayer money for illegals. But how does a union negotiate a deal for retirement when you're paying people $500,000 a year that work for a span of 20 some years and then retire at the age of 55 and go on to live for another 40 years? How do you pay somebody that kind of money? Because usually you get paid. Here's the typical example of how you get paid with union work, right? In law enforcement, they take a percentage, which varies, of your top 5, right? That's your top 5 highest years. And you can get a percentage that could be 60% and higher of your top 5. So how would you be able to pay these people going into the future for maybe more years than they ever worked at the police department, right? While paying new police officers that you have in? That's a recipe for disaster, but they don't care. And this brought up
that's the definition of the Ponzi scheme.
Mm-hmm. And this brought up a second point. And it's like, oh, because somebody said to me today, well, why did they do the most liberal states where they want to defund the police and all of this and the other thing? Why are they the highest paid in the country? Because it was all the left-wing blue states that were the highest paid in the country. And it's like, okay, blue collar logic. And this is my summation. I'm not saying I have any evidence for any of this or anything else, but they're not paying them to be cops. They're paying them to be the goon squad of the elites, the liberal elites that run these. So when you see Antifa going out there burning shit down, they never get arrested in states. Washington State was another one, by the way.
Yeah.
You never see them getting arrested, right? Yet,
well, not even do you never see them be arrested. You'll see the videos where they had taken an attack at somebody and they jump in and arrest the guy that got attacked. I forget where the video was. I saw this guy got like basically clotheslined. He'd been kind of pushed and roughed up and basically clotheslined by somebody. He stands up, kind of has his side / back to him. He's standing up. This cop comes in and just body checks him into the wall and starts cranking down, and he thinks he's still getting attacked. He turns around and freaking elbows one of them in the face. Oh, now he's assault on a police officer and all this. And he literally just got jumped, and the people that jumped him wandered right on off.
So, and I'm not saying all the cops are good, but
Freedom just said Santa Clara, California police chief, $736,000.
This is insane. It is absolutely insane. And I know we didn't plan on talking about this, Stu, but this story just reminded me because I just had this conversation recently and I was dumbfounded. And it's like these police, it's all smoke and mirrors, defund police, this and that. They pay the police in these, and they pay them to do the dirty work. And the dirty work is being foisted. Not all the cops that are employed there are left-wing dudes. They want to do the right thing, but they report to a boss. Their retirement is based off of doing what you're paid to do. And so these police chiefs that they're paying $700,000, their job is to keep the department in line with what the masters of that police chief, which are the liberal elites that run these cities in California and Illinois and Massachusetts and Washington State, all of these, right?
And most times the police chiefs serve at the they're appointed by the mayors.
The city, well, they're appointed by the city managers, dude. The city managers, right? That's the real power player in these cities, right? And we know what the political leanings are. But just like, how do you pay a police chief $700 and some thousand, and then
$750,000 a year?
Yeah, pay him a retirement based off of that, and still have an operating police department 10, 20, 30 years into the future. They're already 10, 20, 30 years into the future of operating like this. It is a ticking time bomb in these states, dude. It is unbelievable. So this whole Medicaid thing, all federal funds from these states, because these states rely on who to bail them out when they default.
Oh, absolutely.
The rest of the country isn't paying police chiefs $765,000 a year, right? So the rest of the country that pays that is responsible for that, we're responsible for bailing these places out. While hand-picked goons get $760,000 to do a specific job. And that ain't to serve the public. It's to serve the liberal elite that put them in that place to begin with.
Well, and that's the thing, it was, I forget the actual decision where the Supreme Court came down and said the job of the police is not to defend you. Yeah. Your safety is not their job or their priority.
Yeah, I don't want to back because there's tons of good police officers out there that are getting the shaft, right? It's in these liberal states, the leadership in these police
absolutely
is unbelievable. So
it was I think it was the town of Castle Rock versus Gonzalez in 2005. The Supreme Court ruled that the police do not have a constitutional duty to protect specific individuals from harm. Instead, law enforcement's general duty is to the public at large. So all of these people talking about, why do you need a gun? The police are there to protect you.
Perfect.
The police are there to do the report, the investigation after the fact. Nobody's got a police officer in their back pocket that, whip out to protect them. you are your own first responder.
Well,
Nobody's getting to the scene of the crime quicker than you.
if anybody knows somebody from Great Britain, the public at large in Great Britain thinks guns are just an evil that nobody needs, right? Look at Great Britain right now. Look at Great Britain right now. Look at Iran right now. You have supposedly 65 million people in Iran that don't want the government that they have, but they can't do anything because 50,000 of them were just killed by that
they
government.
Have no means to defend
they
themselves.
Have no means to defend themselves, and you're seeing it. They're not being killed in they are being killed by the people they imported, but the same thing is going on in Europe. The same exact thing is going on in Europe because the people do not have the means to take their country and their government back, right? So you see them, you see them in Great Britain and Ireland and in Germany, just importing millions and millions and millions of people that hate the host country. They hate the people that live in the host country, and they're paying all of they're not even defending themselves anymore because they know the United States will do it. And they're taking that money that they should be using for self-defense and using it as welfare benefits to attract more unskilled migrants from the third world that will never assimilate. It's all being done to destroy, but these people don't have the ability. Here, they're trying to do the same thing in the United States, but we have a constitution. We have the ability to defend ourselves.
Yeah, at a minimum, you can defend yourself from the person on the street, where in Great Britain and some of these other countries, if they break into your house and are assaulting you and you defend yourself and injure them, you could go to jail for it.
There's a huge story in Italy right now. The name off the top of my head, there is a jeweler in Italy who had been robbed multiple times, by migrants, right? Coming into a store, threatening his wife, threatening his children, threatening his daughters, the whole 9 yards. He ends up shooting one of these guys. Now he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail, right? And then the family sued him from the migrants, and he has to pay $1 million to the migrants' family that he shot and killed, defending his store. So this was a big touch point in Italy. So now this last week, they have now put a new law into effect where they're not allowed to sue. These criminal victims are not allowed to sue, but it's not any good for this guy because he's stuck in jail and has to pay after he'd been robbed 5 freaking times.
It's amazing. Any action or any fallout from a criminal act should fall on the perpetrator of that original act. Correct. Just sorry, you don't get to victimize someone and then because they stand up for themselves, don't roll over, then claim that you're now the victim because somebody else refused to be beaten or cowed or robbed. They didn't do what they were supposed to do and roll over for you. Now you're the victim because they stood up for themselves.
I'm trying to find.
JG's talking about the massive stabbing epidemic in the UK.
Yeah, exactly.
It's to the point in the UK they're talking about like household knives, like your steak knives cannot have a point on them. They need to be rounded. You're
correct. But if you are required, if your religion says that you should carry a knife, they're making exceptions for that. So who's carrying the knives? Who are carrying the knives in Great Britain? Right.
So what you're telling me, Matt, is I need to wrap a turban around my head and then I can carry a knife around with me.
I didn't say that. You could.
That sounded like a lot. It sounded a lot like what you said.
But
that's what I heard.
That's what they're saying. If for religious purposes you can carry a knife, right? Well, look, you cannot have unfettered. We repeat here on this station many times. If you want to come to a country, whether it be the United States or anywhere else, and you're coming to seek a new life and be an American or be a Briton or be a German or be an Italian, any of that, we don't begrudge anybody for that. But if you're coming to try to change the country back to the country that you just fled, right? or to go on welfare so the hardworking taxpayers have to support you and all the kids you're going to have. No, no, I don't think the majority of the world wants that type of immigration. They don't want that. And if you're never going to assimilate to the country, you're not going to learn the language, you're not going to learn the culture, you're not going to love that country for offering you the opportunity and getting you out of the rut you were in the country that you were fleeing. Right?
Well, not only are you not going to love it, they actively despise it.
Exactly.
And
we don't want that. That's immigration of destruction, not positive.
We're not bringing in people. We're not bringing in doctors and engineers and
correct.
Business owners.
We're not bringing in plumbers, electricians, and carpenters. We're not bringing any of them. We're bringing in dependents. That's what we're bringing in. Military age male dependents who hate us. That's what we're bringing in. That's what Europe is bringing in. Yeah. So it's crazy, and it's all done to destroy, as we've said before. But this $1 billion, they should freeze all federal funds when they don't apply. If they're going to go against and defy the federal government and not turn over criminal illegals to ICE, if they're not going to get rid of this sanctuary status that they put in there, right? They shouldn't get any federal funds whatsoever. So it's about time, when we've seen all the massive fraud. They're saying the fraud in California could be approaching $150 billion a year.
Well, they need to do like what they started doing when they were talking about the speed limit laws and the alcohol laws, where like if the states didn't participate in the 55 speed limit and the 21 for alcohol, whatever, they were losing federal funding.
That was so stupid, the 55 mile per hour, but that was done under a fuel crunch by a liberal. Yeah. But
the point was the federal government used the power of the dollar to say, look, as Washington, D.C., this is what we've determined we need to do as a country. But if we don't want to participate, then we
have these activist judges that sue and are able to get traction, and our Senate does nothing about it, even though it's controlled by Republicans. Our do nothing deep state Senate, and the leadership of the Senate, I should say, does nothing because whose side are they on? They're on their side because their masters want them to be on their side. They want the cheap labor. They want the rent seekers. They want the money, your taxpayer dollars that are handed out to the migrants that buy shit in their stores. That's who run these rhinos in the Senate.
Yep. And we've gone over it time and time again, like you said, Matt, whenever the federal government comes in and subsidizes the housing and the food and the medical insurance and all that for this family of migrants, well, then the chicken plant or the packing plant or the processing plant, whatever, can get away with paying them $12, $13 an hour because that family does not have the expense that an American family would to pay for their own home, to pay for their own food, to pay for their own medical.
Correct. You're paying for it. You're paying for
built in.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's insane. It's insane. And these corporations need to be held. These corporations that partner up with these liberal governments that they get rid of the Americans and hire third world migrants while taxpayer dollars are subsidizing everything else. So they get $15 an hour labor as opposed to $25 an hour labor. And then the state government comes in and subsidizes housing, education, medical, everything. They get everything with your taxpayer dollar. The dudes being laid off are paying the taxes to subsidize the people who replace them. So any corporation that hires these types of employees needs to pay a price. There needs to be a website or something that puts up the names of these corporations and what they're doing, because they should all pay a price for doing this.
The problem is, Matt, and I agree with you 100%. The problem is everything is owned by like 4 companies.
That's the problem.
When you track it all the way up, you've got like three different entities that handle everything with chicken.
Well, how do you engineer that, Stu? Because we're getting to the base of this. How do you engineer 4 companies owning everything in a particular industry?
by freaking paying off the politicians.
Well, no. Here's what you do. You introduce for agriculture a Green New Deal, right? And then you make it so that a farmer, a small to mid-sized farmer, could never be profitable if he's living up to all of these laws to abide by the Green New Deal. So of course he's going to default because he can't afford it, right? And then he defaults, and then big chicken, I think we know somebody begin with the T, will come in and buy that farm, right? And next thing you know, we have 4 companies that control a whole industry, and they partner up with the federal government, and you as the taxpayer and you as the American citizen can't do a damn thing about it. This is a problem. These companies need to be identified, because if you don't have small business, we're done.
Freedom dropped in the chat, and you remember this, that illegal immigrant trucker that was involved in that California crash that killed 3 people got less than 5 years. Yep.
I heard all of this. And what states were giving them these? California and Washington State. I'm sure there's more. You know, you had Illinois hiring illegals as police in the state. How can that even be? Whoever hired an illegal as a law enforcement officer, which has sworn law enforcement duty, right, over you, whoever did that should be in jail. But in Illinois, what they did to solve their problem there is they got the guy's citizenship. Then they put him right back to work, from what I understand.
Oh, sweet Jesus. All right. Yeah. Well, here's a good news story. This, because I was reading through this, trying to see kind of what was going on, how it was applying. But basically, the DOJ's had several admissions and legal filings that are kind of lining up to protect suppressors in kind of the same way Heller is protecting firearms. Mm-hmm. And the way that is right here, the DOJ says, and you got to get to the second part of the statement. It says silencers are susceptible to criminal misuse because they make it harder for victims or law enforcement to identify or detect the source and direction of gunfire. But they go on to say, this is not to say that silencers are widely used for criminal purposes. Their beneficial use is overwhelming in relation to their criminal use. Just a statement to that effect is a huge thing.
Here's the thing. You're still going to need to go through an FFL to get suppressors, regardless, right? No matter what happens. Okay. So how do criminals get legitimate suppressors?
They don't. They make them.
Correct. And what's to stop a criminal from making an illegal suppressor right now?
Nothing. I mean, whenever I did a Form 1.
This is ridiculous. This is all to control the law-abiding citizen who does follow the rules and does everything right. And this is so silly, how a suppressor is part of the NFA in the first place. It's absolutely silly and stupid.
I built my own suppressor doing Form 1, completely legal. I've got the document. It cost me more for the tax stamp than it did for the components. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And mine's made out of titanium.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane. It's insane that we've allowed all of this to go on for so long. The whole NFA is a scam. The whole thing is a scam.
The thing is, the DOJ goes on to say, in the view of the United States, the Second Amendment protects firearms accessories and the components such as suppressors. As a result, restrictions on the possession of suppressors burden the right to bear arms, and a ban on the possession of suppressors or other similar accessories would be unconstitutional. the government's repeated admissions that the benefits overwhelm the criminal use could invoke the rationale behind Heller, which declared that firearms in common use for lawful purposes fall under Second Amendment protection. So there's nothing that's going to change the world at the moment, but it looks like it could be lining up to at least be not hostile, if not a little bit to our benefit, the way things are being addressed at the moment.
I want to, do you know who Harmeet Dillon is?
I know the name, but I can't.
Okay, so she's kicking ass. She's part of the DOJ right now, and she used to be on Fox News and quite a bit as a guest. Somebody brought up something on Varney on Fox Business with her the other day, and they said, well, they thought they would mention, hey, I am a gun enthusiast, and started talking about guns. If anybody who knows Harmeet Dillon understands this, how funny it was for me to stop and turn around and say, are you kidding me? She got into a long discussion about the firearms that she has, and she knows her shit. I was like, are you kidding me? What she just said, you know? And I'm like, that you would never guess it. She's a female. I think she's of Indian descent, Harmeet Dillon, right? And it's like, she should be the next DOJ for sure. She's only a couple steps
it down, huh?
Oh my goodness, because she's been kicking ass on the immigration stuff. But and I couldn't believe. I mean, she knew she was mentioning specific models, and it's like, are you kidding? This isn't somebody that just did a little bit of research and knows. You can obviously tell she's an enthusiast, right?
She wasn't one of I got a Glock. Well, what Glock?
No.
A black one. You know?
No, because she knew more about him than the host, who was trying to brag about what he has. You know, so I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that is fantastic.
That's funny.
We've got good people in the Trump administration. We really do.
We do. I'm hoping they can, against all odds and all adversity, make some substantive changes. Because I mean, like we've said before, Trump can put in all of the what are they called? The presidential orders, the
executive orders.
Executive orders. He can put in all the executive orders he wants. If it's not backed up by Congress passing laws to those effect, just like Biden did when he came in behind Trump, anything that had Trump's name on it, he wrote, Biden immediately did one 180 degrees opposite of what Trump had done. Whether it was a good executive order or not, objectively, if it had Trump's name on it, he invalidated it.
Well, look what they did. Look what the Supreme Court did with a lot of the voting stuff here recently. It's insane. And there's been a lot of suggestion that Amy Coney Barrett is scared from all the threats.
I saw that whenever you looked at her voting record before the threat started and after, she tacked way back to the middle in how she was ruling on things.
She shouldn't be a Supreme Court justice if this is the case. She should step down now and let Trump replace her, because this is insane. I feel for her. And the previous administration was basically allowing threats to go out against Supreme Court. That should never happen. I don't care, liberal, conservative, that Supreme Court justices should never be threatened in any way, shape, or form. And the Biden administration was all but allowing it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
They weren't even allowed. They were basically advocating for it.
Yeah. Yeah. With Chuck Schumer getting up there and saying stuff to Neil Gorsuch and all of this bullshit. Okay. Now, you hear us talk about federal judges all the time. We would never call for anybody to be threatened or anything. They need to be impeached. If they step over the line, they need to be impeached in the constitutional way. That the Senate has to get involved. And we have a Senate that won't get involved. So if you have an activist judge that is not doing what they're supposed to be doing by the letter of the Constitution, which they're not.
If they're ruling based on ideology and not the rule of law, then and it's amazing how you can look at the topic in front of the Supreme Court, and you should not be able to do this, but it's been as long as I can remember. You can look at the topic in front of the Supreme Court and with a 90% accuracy tell you how people are going to vote.
Exactly. The Democrats stick together no matter what. It's not absolutely. That means it's not based on the Constitution. It's based on activism, yes. Right? That the Republicans are the ones that, and this is why a rhino is more dangerous than a Democrat, right?
Yes.
But our side, okay, the Patriot side follows the Constitution. Their side is the one making threats against judges that they don't like. Their side is making threats against politicians and government employees, ICE, that they don't like, right? We do things the right way. And sometimes it gets frustrating. Trump does things the right way. He always tries to use the law and the constant, and then he'll run it through, right? Yep. And let it play. And that gets frustrating because we're like, this is obviously unconstitutional. This is obviously needs to be stopped now. But Trump believes in the rule of law, and patriots believe in the rule of law, and that's the way we do it. Now, we want action. That being said, when you have activist judges that are like we've seen it time and time and time again. Like, what's the latest deal now? The Trump administration, who found all of the malfeasance in Fulton County, some federal judge comes in and says, we're not going to allow you to have access to the voter rolls, which are full of, obviously, what.
Was it? I almost want to be. Was it John Adams that said the Supreme Court or a court made this decision, and John Adams didn't agree with it? And he's like, "Great, they made their decision. Let's see them enforce it." You almost. I mean, I understand you can't because of the rule of law. If you didn't have the rule of law and the respect of law, things would absolutely implode. But dear God, sometimes you want it in the worst way. It's like
if somebody is constantly making rulings like this and overturning them, finding the judges to overturn Trump on this and that, and where they know it's going to be overturned, that is an activist judge. And that judge is not following the rule of law. That judge is not following the Constitution. It is the Senate's job to step up, investigate that judge, and if it's warranted, impeach their ass. But they're not doing it. They're not doing it.
I was mistaken. It was Andrew Jackson. It was John Marshall made a decision, and Andrew Jackson said that he's made his decision. Now let him enforce it.
Who caught you on that?
No, I looked it up real quick. I knew it was. I don't know why I thought it was John. I don't know why it was John Adams. It was Andrew Jackson that said it.
Do we have any comments we haven't gotten to?
No, I've read them as they've come up.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, this is getting back to the firearms thing. I know we veered off that a little bit, but suppressors, this needs to be sorted out. The attack on firearms in this country, I don't think is standing. I think our side is getting stronger every year, but we can't let up. That is without the Second Amendment, we've got nothing. Look at Europe. Look, that's all the farther you have to look.
It's unfortunate that our Congress and our Senate has basically abdicated their rulemaking authority to other entities within the government because they do not want to be responsible.
I don't want to say the whole, and I'm guilty of this because I just did it. You can't throw out, what do they say? Throw out the baby with the bathwater.
No, I'm saying as a whole, as a unit, Congress has that they don't make laws anymore. They say ATF makes rules concerning this. The EPA makes rules concerning that. Well, guess what? Those rules put me in fucking jail.
What was the big case last year that came out and said it was the Chevron case, right?
Yes.
That said they can't do that.
And that's what I think is dismantling some of this because You have for instance, ATF and the pistol arm braces.
Mhm.
Well, it's a stock. It's not. It is. It's not. It's a pistol. It's a rifle. You don't know what you have. Why? Why is it changing? This has been a firearm accessory for 2 decades, and now
Which
on this random Thursday, it's illegal.
And on all honesty, shouldn't even exist except for handicapped people, because SBR shouldn't be on the NFA. It's so stupid.
Well, the fact that SBRs are on the NFA, as much of a pain in the ass as that is, and people may not realize this, the bigger part of it is, I live in the southwest corner of Georgia. I am 1 mile from Alabama, and I am 5 miles from Florida. I can go to Alabama and buy groceries, go to Florida to eat dinner, and then be home. I have to get permission from the NFA to cross state lines with an SBR.
It is so stupid. It is so
stupid. If I don't, it's do not pass go, do not collect $200.
Well, and a lot of these things are designed to trip you up, Stu. So you can be charged with a felony, and then you don't get to vote, and then you don't get to have a firearm, and then you don't get to do a lot of other things, which are your rights for doing nothing wrong. Because
I've got too much ammo stocked up to not be able to shoot it.
Exactly. Exactly.
But so probably we've got a quick. We'll hit this story real quick, because I know Matt wants to get to the firebombing story.
Yeah.
We talked about it quickly. 6,600 non-citizens have been found on the voter rolls in New Jersey, and at least 400 of them have illegally voted. Now, the funny thing is, when you get down through here, what was it she said? Well, this is interesting.
Mikey, isn't her name Mikey Sherrill? The New Jersey government?
I don't know. I just know Cheryl. Yeah, Mikey, Mikie.
Yep.
Okay.
Mikey Sherrill. Yeah.
But this funny thing is, Cheryl was preceded by Democratic Governor Phil Murphy, who appears to have concealed the issue after it was found in 2024. So he found this issue and sat on it for 2 years. Well, but we get down here, and she says that Trump has zero credibility on this issue.
1 second. That's in line with the CIA hiding all the information that they found with China interfering in our elections in 2020. It's typical for these leftists. But
So even though Trump has been saying we need to look at these, there's voter fraud, there are people registered to vote that shouldn't be voting, she comes out after she finds over 6,000 people on her voter rolls that shouldn't be there. She comes out with a straight face, says, let me be clear. Donald Trump has zero credibility on the issue of election integrity.
Yeah, right.
And all he's been doing is saying there are people voting that shouldn't be. He finds people voting that shouldn't be, and Donald Trump is the one that has no integrity.
That's because their propagandists, which are the mainstream media, went out and told everybody there was no evidence. There was no evidence when there was mountains of evidence. There was mountains of evidence. Courts threw it out. No, courts threw it out for no standing. They never heard the case.
And when you get down here, DHS revealed last week that it has found nearly 300,000 non-citizens registered throughout the U.S., with more than 35,000 suspect names identified in New Jersey.
And we know this is just the tip of the iceberg.
But Trump has no credibility.
Of the iceberg. Yeah, this is you cannot hate the media enough, the mainstream media. You cannot, because they work off of one. This Mikey Sherrill uses a trope that is not even remotely true, but it's in so many people's heads because they heard the media going on and on and on, and it was a lie from the very beginning. And then she's going to act like that is fact, written into stone at this stage, because the media lied about it for so long. It is absolutely insane, and she knows the truth. She knows the truth.
But who cares if she knows she's lying if there's no consequence for her lying?
Correct. 100% correct. So New Jersey, if you live in New Jersey, your mayor is either an absolute dishonest pile of trash, or she is an idiot and 100% stupid, misled by the mainstream media, which everybody knows was lying the whole time. Okay, one or the other. Either way, she isn't fit for office.
Yeah, and again, I don't for a minute think these people are stupid. They're cunning, they're conniving, they're very, very smart in the sense that they know that the attention span, because of everything else that people have to deal with on the daily, is very, very small.
Yeah.
So they can come out and just say something, and the talking heads in the media pick it up, and that's the talking point for a week. That's all that person hears. They don't look into it because they don't have the time. They don't really know how to, or to be honest, they don't really care to. They're being told what to do. They're being told what to think about something, and they're happy with that.
Yeah.
And you wind up with this. But the last story here was the one you were really interested in, is this Army veteran in New York.
And here's Stu has sort of alluded to why we're interested in this, okay? Because I've listened to Fox News and everywhere else, this guy who blew up the entrance and was shooting people with a pellet gun or something, BB gun, pellet gun, I don't know, as an Army veteran, right? Okay, so put on your thinking caps. And I know a lot of people that listen to us have spent time, or they're close to people that were in the military. Okay, this individual who we can't seem to get a decent picture of, by the way, but this individual, what's his name? Arabaka, right?
Yeah, this is the only picture I can find.
Yeah,
and this picture tracks with the surveillance images because of what he has on the back of his shirt here.
Yeah,
this graphic. This tracks with that image, but this is the only picture I can find of him.
Well, referring to this individual as that's what they're, an Army veteran, right? So anybody that knows, he served, what years did this guy serve, Stu?
All right, because this is what Matt and I were looking at.
Yeah.
This guy served in, they say, the regular Army, so active duty from July 2001 to July of 2004, and then National Guard from July of 2004 through July of 2005. So he served 4 years, 3 years active duty, 1 year Guard.
What he was doing with that was making up his active reserve time, right? Because everybody has active reserve time that they have to, I think, I don't remember how many years it was, but if you only had a 3-year enlistment, you had to make it up one way, or you could be called up to duty, right? If you didn't make up that time, right? So 2001 to 2004, really stuck out to Stu and I on this when it said no deployments. Who in the military serving between 2001 and 2005, okay, we'll expand it out to his Guard duty, had no deployments? And how would you have gotten off of active duty serving between 2001 and 2004? What happened to people that were serving between those periods of time, Stu? Because something was going on that I don't. Remind me what might have been going on in those time frames.
I got out in September of 2005. I think I had between 2001, because I got to my unit in December of 2001. So between December of 2001 and September of 2005, I think I had 5 or 6 deployments.
You got into your, yeah. Well, because you were, when did you enlist? You enlisted
I enlisted in 97. I was a crew chief on F-15s. In 2001, I cross-trained to communications, and I wound up at Herbert Field doing communications for special operations. Now, Air Force deployments are different than Army deployments. Air Force deploys for 3 to 5 months at a time, and then we rotate a team in. The Army was deploying for a year plus at a time. So me saying 4 and 5 deployments, that's not to say I was going 4 or 5 years. There's a difference there. But I was going
and in
a lot.
special operations, I mean, Ranger Battalion, most of their deployments are 3 months, right? Or during the War on Terror. Yeah. But special operations usually deploys for 7 months. It's an extremely high tempo, right? 6, 7 months.
So our comm team would deploy for three to 4 months, and then we would rotate in another team. Now I might be right back out there replacing that team again. I might not be going for a year, but I could be going for 6 or 7 months out of that 365-day period, depending on what was going on. But yeah, it struck me as really odd that someone active duty and guard
would have been stop lost. Period. Yeah. Amen. Period. Amen. Yeah. And even in a soft skill MOS, and I don't want to rip on soft skill MOSs because they are needed, and I know a lot of people like to. But you're in a soft skill MOS, you were getting stop lost. We needed all hands on deck as we were in the War on Terror. We were fighting a war on 2 fronts: Afghanistan and Iraq during this time period. So something is really crazy about this. And the way I look, if somebody joined to get military benefits, right? Like having their college paid for and stuff like that, and was in a time of deployment and didn't deploy. I mean, maybe it was some freak thing but the first thing that everybody refers to him as is an Army veteran, when that is doing disservice to people who are over there busting their ass in any capacity.
Let me ask you this, Matt,
a year, 2 years at a time.
Let me ask you this. You know more about the Army promotion cycle than I do. After 5 years, should he have been hired than specialist?
That tells you what a winner this guy was too. Because you get made a specialist if you have a college degree. Okay, you're automatically made an E4, right?
Right.
Okay, right. So in order to spend 5 years in both the Army and the Guard and to leave a specialist, that tells you, I think, all you need to know. I mean, had it been a private, it would have really told you the whole story, right?
I mean, the Air Force is a little different. When you join, you come in as an E1 Airman Basic. You can get E2 or E3 with college. I came in as an E1 because I had previous college, but everything all the way up to E4 is time and service, time and grade.
Well, yes, you come in the Army as an E1, right? You come in as an E1. If you have a college degree, you will be a specialist. Okay, they'll give you specialist, which is
from the time you hit E1. Are there hard time and service, time and grade gates you have to meet before you're eligible to promote again?
Yes, there are.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was just, hey, you're doing good today. Here's another stripe.
No.
Okay.
Now you normally do get, because the Army is the largest branch, you use promotions tend to come a little faster in the Army than some of the other branches. But you got to be all kinds of special to, like I said, I don't want to, because there are certain reasons that people could have been knocked back that, even though it was a punishment, might be legitimate. So I don't want to rip on everybody who spent that amount of time. But this guy right here, not going on deployments, in that rank, time period, in the rank, all of this strikes me as something I'd like to see what his military record actually was.
Yeah, and to me, the biggest thing wasn't necessarily the rank. I was just curious because I always knew the Army promoted faster than the Air Force. I was just curious. But yeah, the thing that caught me was the no deployments.
Yeah.
Because the only reason you weren't getting deployed is because nobody wanted you on their team.
Or you had some sort of medical that you got out with, or Who knows?
Yeah.
There was another individual that was claiming he was going around that I knew from times past that was claiming he was a special operations guy and been all over the world doing all sorts of daring do. And then it turns out when his DD-214 got out there, I don't know how that happened, but the guy served 2 years out of a 3-year enlistment in the same time period, and he was in an infantry unit, right?
Uh-huh.
So, and it's like, oh, what happened here? How did this happen? How could you be in an infantry unit, right?
No.
And get out before your enlistment was up? What happened?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
And this was the guy that was in all sorts of daring do and was this and that special operations guy. He was claiming to be a ranger. Yeah, it's insane. It's super insane. But yeah,
that's one of the things that JG says here. He says, in my opinion, the guy was dishonorably discharged. And
could have been.
I mean, again, the information we have here highlighted came from a U.S. Army spokesperson. So if that were the case, JG, I would think it would be in here since they did this.
JG could be right, because now there's all sorts of recourse, especially through the Biden administration and everything else. There was all sorts of recourse that if you had a dishonorable, that you could get that overturned after you got out. There's all sorts of stuff that they do now. So JG could be right with that.
It could be, yeah.
We don't know. But the problem that rubs me in the wrong way is how they describe this guy before they even say his name or anything else is Army veteran. What a disgrace to 99.999% of all veterans.
Like I said, the thing that caught me wasn't so much the rank; it was the dates of enlistment and the glaring no deployments between 2001 and 2004.
Yeah.
I saw that. I'm like, damn, all I was deployed during that time.
Yeah. Something's off. Something doesn't pass the sniff test. So,
yeah. Well, that gets us to an hour.
Yeah.
And we've, about the only thing, when we're talking about the voting thing in New Jersey, JG had said California has a higher number of illegal voters, which
for sure,
by population, I wouldn't doubt it.
For sure. And we know that it's the most corrupt state now. And that's saying something when you've got Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, Washington State, Oregon State, all of those out there. California and Minnesota leads the pack in corruption. No doubt. And when you think of the staggering number of 150 billion a year approaching in fraud that's been thrown out there, and the amount of numbers coming out of the state of Minnesota, if we don't get control of this, we're not going to have a country. That's the long and short of it.
Well, I wanted to tell you that this was one of the quotes from the Minnesota and California having Medicaid funds held. This was a quote from Newsom that I thought was freaking hysterical. He says, California isn't being targeted because Trump has evidence of fraud, which he does. There's tons of it.
Everybody has evidence of fraud.
We're being targeted for political reasons.
Yeah, because he's going to run for president. He's behind AOC in the early polls on who do you want to run for president as a Democrat. He's behind AOC and Kamala. That shows you how much the country wants and what a threat Gavin Newsom is, right?
And Waltz says they're not punishing fraudsters. Yes, they are. Yeah. They're punishing children and seniors and working families.
Yes, that's who they're punishing. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Timothy.
Your money. Yes. The guy who didn't want to send a guy back for raping a 12-year-old girl because he would have to be sent back, so he pardoned him. This is that guy, right?
This is that guy. He's that guy. He's Timothy.
Speaking of non-deployments, right? This guy's a sergeant major, and the day he finds out that his unit's deploying, he drops papers to retire, right?
Yeah.
What a hero that guy is, right?
Hey, lead from the rear, right?
And then he tells everybody he's a sergeant major. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So It's absolutely insane. And when they say that Trump doesn't have evidence, of course he does. Here we go again with the gaslighting of everybody.
Yeah.
We all have evidence. Attack the messenger. Attack the messenger. Like what Trump was saying, hey, you know, there's fraud here. There's evidence of fraud. Nick Shirley goes out there and finds evidence of fraud. And they say, oh, they're going to attack Nick Shirley. Just like
he's a right-wing grifter. Let's not look at the evidence he's uncovered. We don't like him.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's all bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. But you can't hate the media enough for putting out this bullshit. And, you know, even our side, somebody should get a hold of somebody at Fox and say, how dare you refer to this guy when you're and put it out there, top of the list, Army veteran, right?
Yeah. Maybe, and like you said, it immediately paints every other member that served in the military as a danger. Oh, he's an Army veteran. Well, okay. Yeah. What's he done for the past 20 fucking years?
Exactly.
Because I can guarantee you that 4 years he was sitting in the rear echelon, and the 1 year he was sitting in guard duty didn't shape this man's political beliefs that he's acting on at the moment.
And if they could be responsible and do a Freedom of Information request and get his DD 214, and then they'll know exactly. They can start digging into it.
So, that'd be interesting. That would be interesting.
Well, guys, we want to apologize for the screw ups that we've had that have been my fault, some Stu's fault. It doesn't matter whose fault any of it is.
You know what, Matt? I'm not going to apologize for it because every one of these folks knew what they were in for when they signed up. We have never once proclaimed to be a professional operation.
It does bother us that people were waiting for us and we couldn't get anything. So we want to apologize for that. And if there's ever a time we don't think we're going to get on, we're going to put out something ahead of time, just to let you guys know, so you're not wasting your time. We want you to know that we truly are. We're joking here.
We do, and like Matt said, we do respect your guys' time, and we appreciate that you take time out of your week and join us. And when it does go sideways, we hate when it happens, but the problem is most of the time when it does go sideways, neither one of us are in a position to do something, and it kind of just sits. But Freedom was asking if you got new shades or if those are.
These are actually, I don't wear them that much, but these are actually prescriptions, and they've got those blue lenses that are supposed to protect your eyes from blue light, but it makes it look like wearing sunglasses.
It does. So they're not as dark as they look.
Yeah, they're not as dark as they look, but I'm seeing myself in there and like, oh shit. So
yeah, you're that guy. And Troy, now Troy says he expects a slapdash show. So you know what, Troy, you're getting your money's worth, pal. You're welcome.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Troy. You're welcome.
We want to thank all you guys. We always say thank you more than anything for being a patriot and for caring about this country. Thank you for bringing us information. Thank you for sharing information, and thank you for being there on Wednesday or Tuesday night when we come at you. Wednesday night. But live in freedom every day. We will be back next week, and we appreciate every single one of you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. I don't have any travel in the foreseeable future, but so I should be here for at least the next several shows. But thank you very much. We appreciate all of you. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care, guys.